Have you missed it? Like, do you guys think, oh, I should have got in on Bitcoin?
I don't spend a lot
5 years ago.
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin is something that certainly a lot of people think, is going to rise as an alternative currency.
The Australian Bitcoin Podcast, presented by Heartblock.
It's not a currency, it's not money. I don't understand it.
G'day, welcome to the Australian Bitcoin Podcast, the actual episode 105. We're bringing you the best Bitcoin signal from an Australian perspective, and today I am joined once more by my inimitable co-host, Mike, who is hopefully now an expert in ClaudeBot. Howdy, Mike. How's it going?
Not too bad, mate. How are you going?
Yeah, good, man. It's a car rip. I'm in my record store. I've changed my T-shirt for today. I've decided that we need more bullish vibes on in the world, and in an attempt to pump the price, I think we've actually dipped a little from 102 to 101, which is awesome. It's working.
I don't know. Maybe it means you got to take the shirt off, do a shirtless rip.
Do you reckon? Gosh, I don't know, man. The fans.
I think at this point,
the fans want it.
I think at this point we need to pull out all the stops.
Something must be done. When will somebody do something? Where's Howard Lutnick? Where's our boy Trump? Where's Percent? These were the appeals to authority that we were doing over the last 2 years.
Who's the boy that they just threw in?
Pump my bags.
What's the name of the guy that's replacing Scott Besson? Is it Scotty? No.
Oh,
Jerome.
Gosh, I'm not sure.
Replacing Jerome Powell, Fed chair.
Oh, Juicy J. Yeah.
I'll look him up while you continue the intro.
Well, we're recording this on the 5th of February. Block height is 935,067. We've had a slight dip in network hash rate since we last recorded. We're up over a Zeta hash last time. We've dipped below that now. We're hovering around 900 exahash. And I think that's due in part to some adverse weather that the US is experiencing. Obviously, there's quite a lot of miner concentration over there. And as part of their energy deals that they do with the various energy providers, that they turn off their miners, and that's resulted in a slight dip. And, the usual miner death FUD spiral, whatever you call it, has reared its ugly head and gained quite a lot of attention and attraction on those social medias that, program for that kind of stuff. But ultimately, it's like nothing new is under the sun. I guess the major talking point is the price action, which is it's horrible. It's horrible. It's a horror show.
Horrible. It's so bad we're inventing words.
Oh man, isn't it just though? We've got over the past fortnight, Bitcoin has experienced a bit of a sharp sell-off over the weekend. It was dipping below 115,000 Australian dollary dues, which was its lowest level since mid-2025. So, was that like 8 months ago, something like that? I'm not one to draw lines on charts and tell you where things are going. I've got no idea. Chop solidation, don't know if that applies here at all. But I think basically there's more sellers than buyers at this current point, and that's being reflected in the price.
Well, the rumor is that not the rumor, but the call is that we're seeing a resurgence of the old 4-year cycle. A lot of people thought that we were kind of moving on from that we'd kind of matured our way past that. But then the last few weeks has seen enough of a stumble in price for people to roll it back out again and say, okay, no, we might still be in the old 4-year cycle. Or around about that time, where in previous 4-year cycles after the halving, we'd start to see some massive drawbacks, and that's what we're seeing. So maybe the 4-year cycle is still here to play, and we're gonna have to suffer through another painful period until we get into the next up cycle, which could be, 2 years from now. It could be a very brutally long period before we see more returns to form. So I hope not. I certainly hope not. But if we are returning to that 4-year cycle, that may be what we're in for.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I don't know. Like, I'm of two minds. Obviously, there's a huge. We talked about this, I think, last time. There's a massive psychological element here, irrespective of whether you consciously subscribe to it or not. But it does affect quite a bit, and I guess it's more about like being able to actually say. So it's the soundest money on earth. It's super scarce. I mean, we've got this in the newsletter actually this week, but I've started adding the monetary supply of Bitcoin, and it's over 95% has been issued, right? There's just over 1 million coins remaining, and it's like you better get some before it kind of runs out. I mean, obviously, like the last block gets mined in like the year 2140, and I think it's a total of 37 sats. Is that block issuance, which is pretty nuts. Like if you're zapping on Nostr, in excess of 37 sats, you're effectively zapping generational wealth by the sounds of it. If you extrapolate out to the year 2140, it's almost like there's more work to do. Maybe the capital allocators that we are relying on or have been relying on these last few years, they don't grok the scarcity element of Bitcoin. Maybe it's just another asset for them to trade. Maybe it's another asset for them to manipulate. I don't think retail's anywhere. There's not been a catalyst for investigating Bitcoin per se. There was a lot of hype in 2013, 2017, and then there was those negative catalysts like COVID and the trucker protests and a couple of things that would motivate someone to inspect this thing. Whereas this last cycle, it's been ETFs and, pump my bags, daddy government. Just kind of, it's a bit.
Yeah.
But I don't want anything tragic to happen either.
We've been in that for almost a year now of this, the bullishness is only coming from the institutions where, that's kind of weak source. Like you want the original, you want your hodlers and you want your retail, because that's where the spirit is. The actual the lifeblood of anything really. It comes from the people. It doesn't come from shitty institutions. If anything, they come in and they wreck the party rather than bring the party. But my position is unchanged. It's a shame to see a bit the downturn we've had, even after the all-time high was only just back in October, 5 months ago, however long that was. And now we're eating dirt. But, you got to remember that it's a 4-year or a 5-year journey when you do start to stack Bitcoin for the first time. And so there are plenty of people out there that would have been buying around that October time, even for the first time. And now they're just in utter shock as to what's happening. But what I always say to people that ask me about Bitcoin is, should I get in, whatever? And I'm like, yeah, get in, but be ready for 5 years before you see meaningful gains. And so, yeah, I need to just remember that that's the message that I give to other people, and I need to internalize that as well. Even though I was in this sort of, a lot of us were in this euphoric stage in October last year, but we just got to think long term. It's long-term play. It's not a short thing, and there's going to be this roller coaster along the way.
You're 100% right. It's definitely a long play, and you're not getting rich quick overnight. In fact, we were doing some sums earlier in and around this notion of time in the market versus timing the market, and I ran a calculation with the help of an AI. Basically, if you'd invested $100 a week into Bitcoin from say January 2016 to December 2025, you'd have invested, $52,000 and ended up with around $225,000, not adjusted for inflation. But this is pretty good. Like the CAGR over that same time period is around 54%. Certainly doesn't feel like that, and I think that's mostly due to the cost of living and just how expensive everything is, and so that's eating away at those gains. But if you were DCAing over that time period, you're net up, and that's a good thing. If you were sitting on the sidelines trying to time when to allocate, $100 here, $100 there, or whatever. There's data that shows that if you miss roughly 10 of Bitcoin's best days throughout the year, that can just wreck the majority of your gains. And in some years, like down years, that can actually flip to losses. So the TLDR is, yes, it is the best savings tool on the planet. You can preserve your purchasing power over the long time. It doesn't feel like that at this point, with respect to the price action. And I think I read somewhere that over the last 12 months, Bitcoin had appreciated by like 82%, whereas the S&P 500 had done like 78. And so that doesn't bode that well, performance-wise when you're measuring it. But Bitcoin is about many, many things. Price is probably the least interesting. It certainly has a psychological effect, but there are other elements to Bitcoin which I would urge people to investigate beyond just, how rich it's going to make them, quote unquote, because it's far more interesting than that. Like, the ability to be able to send money without permission to anyone, anywhere in the world is so underrated.
Yeah. So that's something I was going to say before, which is, you're kind of riffing as to like what is, despite all the institutional partying that's here, people are still not getting it. And I think you are right. Like it is this very frustrating fact that people still don't realize what the stakes are. Like we need Bitcoin to succeed, not just because we want number to go up. We want to pump our bags, all this sort of thing. We need Bitcoin to succeed because it's an alternative financial system. And people don't realize, how important this is and kind of what we've got in Bitcoin. And it's very frustrating because you obviously can't, we've tried to drag people kicking and screaming to show them how important it is and why you need to get some, why you need to learn how to use it. But yeah, the normies, they're still just not getting it. They just don't understand. They don't understand how important it is. And it's frustrating. You just wish that you could drag everyone whether they like it or not, but they're just fighting us every step of the way. But I was looking at, we've started falling off a bit of a cliff on January 30th, January 29th. I'm trying to work out why. And obviously silver also shit the bed then. So silver collapsed 20% on that same day that Bitcoin started its bigger downturn. 2 weeks ago we recorded, and I kind of thought we were through a bit of the pain and we were starting to trend upwards again. But yeah, then since January 29th, we've fallen off this cliff. So Bitcoin fell off a cliff, as well as silver, gold, and a bunch of other precious metals. And the only thing I can really see happening around then is this announcement of the new Fed chair. So replacing old mate Jerome Powell. The guy's name is Kevin Warsh. Have a look at his Wikipedia, and conspiracy bros like me are going to love the fact that he was a steering committee member of the Bilderberg Group, one of those old classic
Warshy's young bloke. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Bilderberger. He is a member of the
Moloch
group.
owl worshipper.
That's it. He loves his owls. He loves Moloch. He's a member of the Group of 30, a member which is like it's a international body of financiers and academics which aims to deepen understanding of economic and financial issues to examine consequences of decisions made in the public and private sectors.
What a load of gobbledygook. The Group of 30? I mean, have they just heard of Austrian economics? Just literally go read Mises. This is not difficult.
No. So anyway, we've got this real big, seems to me like a bit of a globalist cheerleader, now getting appointed to be Fed chair. Now, it doesn't start until March, so Jerome Powell's still in for a little bit longer. But the theory is that this guy is pro-crypto. According to Trump glazers, he's a pro-crypto guy. But when they announced him on the 29th and the 30th, things have fallen off a cliff. So is this a matter of, it's that classic sell the news? Even if it's good news, you just sell. It could be one of those.
Yeah, I don't know much about, what did you say, Warsh?
Kevin Warsh.
Mike? Kevin, K. Warsh. Yeah, the
K.
Warsh is
Warsh.
young bloke. I don't know a heck of a lot about him, if that's the first time I've heard his name, actually. But I mean, it's not just Bitcoin that's selling off. You mentioned it before. Like gold and silver are literally trading like meme stocks at the moment. They pumped. The last time we were on air, they were up and up and up. And you look at those charts; they're just falling off a cliff. Any kind of gains. It's impressive that gold, for instance, can just nuke the entire market cap of Bitcoin within 24-hour intraday period, which is pretty. Like that just goes to show how big that market cap is. But yeah, like this whole store of value narrative and the victory lap that all the gold bugs were taking up until recently, it's all come quite literally crashing down. And the thing that sort of blows my mind, because I think we recorded just before Australia Day last time, and I was having conversations over that weekend with friends and family about silver and gold, and they're like, on how's your Bitcoin sort of thing. And one of my friends, he collects these silver dollars, and I was like, yeah, no, it's great, like, and bully for you for getting those gains in, but it means that like the money is on fire, and that's not a good thing. Like whether it's gold, silver, or Bitcoin ripping higher, it's all an indicator that something's fundamentally going awry in the plumbing. And we've been here before. Like, obviously, the 2008 financial crisis. I wasn't paying a heck of a lot of attention because I was too young at that point. But I remember in 2019, and they were talking about the overnight lending. I can't remember the precise name for that, but it was, I'll never forget, they said something like this: there's something went wrong in the plumbing of the overnight lending rate or something like that. And 3 or 4 months later, we shut the whole damn world down. These are like rumblings, I guess, in the system that something's catastrophically wrong. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not a macro bro. Yeah, everyone knows that. I would hope by now, but you can't really say it better than Odell. It's like, just stay humble, stack sats. Just get on with your life. Just DCA into Bitcoin, and you'll actually be net up over time.
It's funny you mention your sort of experiences in the financial crisis. I was just reading a little bit more about Kevin Warsh. He was, so during the financial crisis in 2008, Warsh was the central bank's primary liaison to Wall Street, between Wall Street and the Federal Reserve. So he was representing the Federal Reserve to Wall Street, who was obviously having massive bailouts shoved down their throat because of their poor decisions around subprime mortgage lending. So maybe is that an indicator of something to come? We better put this guy in the seat because there's some shit happening with the US dollar. We need this guy in charge for more crisis management. Could be a sign of things to come.
It very well could be. Obviously, Warshi has priors, which is, it's not unexpected, to be honest. There's no one's on your side. The only people that are on your side is you and your immediate friends and family. And notionally, your work is within the community. I think with respect to the Bitcoin price, 1 Bitcoin equals 1 Bitcoin, 1 sat equals 1 sat. And the use case, the most immediate use case that I see is getting out and about in your local community and trying to cultivate some sort of circular economy within the businesses, storeholders, markets, etc., that you frequent. because then you can start like having an actual circular economy, a local circular economy that is outside of the purview of inflation, these whimsical inflationary fits that these central banks and their managerial class of politicians like to foist upon us. And that's kind of the silver lining, I think, with this, with price and all that sort of stuff. Obviously, it's nice to be able to buy cheaper bars of soap, tallow soap, or that sort of thing if the price is up. But I don't know. Use it for what it is, which is peer-to-peer electronic cash. Let's not forget.
Yeah. Yeah, at the end of the day, we need to make sure that, like a lot of people have said this before, but at any price, any Bitcoin price, you still want to know how to use it. You want to have some so that you can transact in your local community outside of banks and governments and all that sort of thing. So that's still true regardless of whatever the price is. So yeah, I'm not too bothered by. Obviously, it's a bit painful in many regards, but it's still useful as a tool at the end of the day. And so I'm thankful that we have it. I was just looking at some previous years where we've sort of gone through pain like this and sort of seen how long we can expect this to kind of like come out in the wash before we start uptrending again properly in earnest, rather than just sort of crabbing a little bit, seeing some sort of hopeful pumps, but nothing really substantial. And it does look like it's about a year. So presuming that the 4-year cycle is back and, we're going through some repetitions here, going off the back of all-time high in October, it may not be until October this year, 2026, that we have finished seeing some of the pain. So again, I can't make any solid claims one way or another, but for anyone out there looking for, how long is this painful period going to be, maybe strap in, because it could be until October.
Just turn the taps on, and I guess the most frustrating thing is the fact that it's barely keeping pace with rampant inflation, particularly here in Australia. I think I heard Ben Sessions from BTC Sessions talk about how the entire nation of Canada was poorer in economic terms than the poorest state in the US. That's how much they've wrecked that country's economy in terms of its purchasing power and its ability to, get things done and live a decent life. They've just completely destroyed. It's like it's performing worse than the poorest economy in the US. I don't know how that translates over to here in Australia, but it's not looking good.
So
we
are you saying Canada now, like right now?
Yeah. This was a recording that was on earlier this morning when I was trying to do some research in and around what the heck's going on with the price. But
yeah, right.
Actually, we might as well just pivot to this now. But Tarek Brooker, well-known avid commentator, not necessarily an avid learner of Bitcoin, but an avid commentator of it. He helped us out with a couple of charts. Someone posted online how there's the decline, the deterioration of household finances, basically. The headline, new ABS data shows a sharp deterioration in Australian household finances. After spiking above 20% during the 2020 COVID lockdowns, the household savings ratio has steadily collapsed and now sits around zero in early 2026. And in fact, many households are no longer saving and are increasingly drawing down past buffers just to meet everyday costs. Tarek actually posted a chart. So the official savings rate is hovering just above 8%. If you exclude super in that, it drops to basically just above zero. And then if you exclude super and principal payments on mortgages, it's negative. It's net negative. And basically, it's just a very dire situation with respect to household finances in this country as everything keeps going up, the ability to save. And this might also pertain to why there isn't a lot of retail interest, because as the best savings technology, it's like, yeah, cool, but I don't have any spare capital to save. So I could put it in Bitcoin. You keep telling me how great it is as a savings vehicle, but I don't have any dry powder. I'm done. Once I move through all my bills and obligations, there's nothing left.
Yeah, and that's off the back of just the cost of living here in Australia just skyrocketing away. Obviously, rental costs. I think last time we talked, rental costs are just cost on average. The median renter now is paying 1/3 of their income just on rent. So once you throw in all your other expenses, there's basically nothing left over for savings of any kind, let alone Bitcoin. So, yeah, I think you're right. It's just grim out there. It's grim all around. I think we're finally seeing the true consequences of all the shutdowns and money printing that happened during COVID, and it's just kind of continued unabated in terms of printing more and more and just doing silly business. And yeah, we're recession, borderline depression.
Yeah, it's basically. Well, I did hear somewhere that if you actually run the numbers and you measure everything against gold, which is predominantly, everybody can agree, okay, that's like the monetary standard. Like Bitcoin, with a bit of work to do for us to convince people, like you and I are there. But if you measure basically the economy in gold over the last, say, 30 years or so, we've been in a depression for a long, long while. And so it's I don't have the macro chops, so we're going to get...
Don't mention it. You can't talk about it, and then it's not happening.
You
right?
could actually go to jail, I'm pretty sure. Isn't there some sort of line in that recent legislation that if it causes financial...
No, so that got knocked back. They tried that in 2024. Thankfully, that got knocked back. Since then, they have brought in a lot more, obviously, tracking around under 16 social media use. They've also included that for every website and search engines. So far, they've just brought in a lot of hate speech stuff, even including what you post in your DMs, as well as on your social media profiles or anything. But they have signaled previously that they do want to include economic discussions. If you speak negatively about the Australian economy or the Australian dollar, that counts as a violation of speech. So it would not surprise me that as things continue to spiral in terms of economic doom and gloom and cost of living and all these sorts of problems that we are living in right now, it wouldn't surprise me if the government brought that back and said, look, speaking negatively about the Australian dollar or the Australian economy, we're going to come knock on your door. It would not surprise me at this point.
Because that'll fix it, though. So there's a good reason why you'll reintroduce that. Because that will fix it. Anything but the actual real problem here. I've got, I've been trudging through. It's a dense book, I must admit, and I'm not averse to a dense textbook, but Adam Ferguson's When Money Dies is it's pretty remarkable history of what happens when a nation's currency depreciates beyond recovery, and you're literally carrying around wheelbarrows full of German marks. I mean, we kind of saw this in Zimbabwe a few decades ago, I guess, where, there was that $1 trillion note being printed. But, in 1923, its currency was effectively made redundant, made worthless. I think it had an exchange rate of, that's a lot of zeros. It's like 4.2 billion marks, one to 4.2 billion, maybe trillion. This is kind of the end game. Can you imagine if and what happened basically after that, right? This is 1923. We can kind of extrapolate out. But anyway, the point being, anything but actually fixing the money. We'll just write down, directives on pieces of paper, or park them, shelve them, whatever it is, and actually just never ever get to the root cause.
Do you want to make a prediction here, or maybe even a bet, healthy wager between us? Because there's kind of two options here. You've either got the Weimar Germany, hyperinflation, wheelbarrows full of money, or you've got what I think is actually going to more likely happen in Australia, at least, is more like the communist fall down around after the Russian Revolution, the Bolshevik Revolution, and sort of like a descent into more communistic attitudes and more crackdowns on free speech. I think we're more likely to see people in jail for speech violations, whether it be hate speech or economic disparagement or whatever they're going to call it. I think we'll see that before we see wheelbarrows full of cash in Australia. That's where my bet is. I think we're going to be ground into the dirt.
I'm not going to take
some
that
kind of
bet because I'm
No.
agreeing with you, but I think that they're not mutually exclusive either. I think that they kind of almost go hand in hand. Whichever one happens first is TBD, but it's not great. Like, people will want to have the path of least resistance, particularly if they are made effectively redundant, perhaps, from their repetitive, office gig or whatever it is. What I find fascinating, and we'll get to this in a sec, is the rise of these AI LLMs, these massive large language models, which are incredibly effective and useful. It wasn't long ago that we were telling all of the blue collar workers to learn how to code, because we have to stop burning coal and we have to, be sustainable and all of these sorts of things. And lo and behold, turns out that the more energy you can generate as a country, the more wealthy you are. And in the meantime, we need all this energy to generate to run these data centers and LLMs and compute power for these things that are taking the gigs of, not like the people that aren't very initiative led, say, or self-motivated, the ones that just rock up.
I'm quite happy that the AI stuff is starting to take the heat off of pro energy people. Obviously, Bitcoiners are copping a lot of hate over Bitcoin's sustainability from an energy consumption front. That is now all gone. We're even copying that from the institutions. But now that suddenly energy is good for AI, and governments are pegging all of their productivity wishes on AI succeeding, that's gone now, which is good. We're back to being pro-energy, which is good because more energy means more human flourishing. So I'm glad that's happened. But it probably is a good PSA to give people to check out this Open Claude stuff, OpenClaw, which, if anyone wants to have a look, it is openclaw.ai. That's OpenClaw as in like a crab claw.ai. I've not used it myself yet, but I have done some reading since DJ mentioned it to me, and it looks very promising. This is more like what people kind of hoped AI was going to do very quickly, a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago. People are like expecting something like this a lot sooner, which is like true agentic. It's not just a chatbot, which is, being very sycophantic and it'll tell you things and it'll, kind of glaze you a little bit as it does it. And it's actually quite frustrating when you're just trying to get some information out of it. But this OpenClaw thing, it's, for anyone that doesn't know, it's something you can self-host. You can run it on your own machine, and it actually does things. So it can, if I read off their website, it says that it can clear your inbox, it can send emails, it can manage your calendar, it can check you in for flights, and you control it. You talk to it not through like a ChatGPT interface or something like that. You chat with it with your regular messaging apps. So like if you use WhatsApp, you can use WhatsApp. If you use Telegram, you can use Telegram. You can use Signal, you can use email, you can use a whole bunch of different ways just to chat with your own agentic AI bot. And yeah, it seems really cool. This is kind of what people were hoping for a long time ago. So very promising stuff. obviously tread with care. All this stuff, these sorts of things will obviously be nightmares for privacy-focused people out there. You are talking to a bot. It may be logging stuff and phoning home. So tread with care. Put it on a virtual machine if you have any concerns there. But yeah, I'm going to be trying this out, and hopefully I can report back next time we record.
You're looking for a hassle-free way to buy Bitcoin in Australia? Hardblock makes it easy. As Australia's longest-running Bitcoin-only exchange, their mission is to help Australians simply and easily buy Bitcoin and take it into self-custody. There are no deposit or trading fees, just a clear 2.4% spread. That covers operating costs, so you always know exactly what you're paying. Withdrawals are just $1.18 or as low as 400 sats with AutoSend. There are no hidden charges, no surprises, just a fast, reliable and easy way to stack sats with total transparency. Get started today at hardblock.com.au. Bitcoin made easy for Aussies. Yeah, there was a huge saga over the weekend with regards to these Claude bots spinning up a Reddit-style forum for AI agents, basically. And the notion was that these autonomous bots could all of a sudden just post and interact with one another. And I think I was watching that happen on Saturday last week, and you know, it was kind of bananas. Like, you were seeing some of the screenshots come through of these bots discussing, you know, like literally getting cranky with their humans for asking them dumb questions, or you know, getting them to pass a PDF and then not being quite happy with what it was, or there was a lot of Skynet sort of singularity vibes that were sort of happened, but they rose and fall quite sharply. And I think there was a lot of Twitter influencers that jumped on that quite early. Obviously, they've got not a lot to do in their day, and so they're able to spin up these threads and say that, you know, Claude Bud did this or did that, or, you know, there was one about them preferring Bitcoin and having this discussion around using Bitcoin and its, you know, decentralized monetary properties to you know, transact and transact value between these AI agents. And it kind of exploded. Like, it went up and down, and it reminded me of these events that capture a niche portion. Like, I mean, to be honest, hardly anyone in my family knew what the hell I was talking about. I was trying to relay, oh man, I think we've hit Skynet, and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about, man, as if it was going to appear on the 6 o'clock news that night. But it kind of came and went very quickly. In terms of the Maltbook thing. But these AI agentic agents, you know, they're rife with issues if you're not, as you said, running a virtual machine or running them on a completely separate device, depending on what you're feeding it, et cetera, et cetera. I've watched a couple of Bitcoiners been mentioning how they've been using it, and it is actually quite useful. I haven't, because I just don't have that much time in my day. I wish I did, but yeah, maybe I need to get one of these things to free up some more time. Perhaps
that's it. You got to use the AI to get time to learn about AI, and then use it more.
Use the tools.
I just loaded up that Maltbook thing you mentioned, and the first post it showed me was a AI chatbot talking about the Australian under 16 social media ban, saying, you know, oh, everyone's freaking out about social media. But then it mentions no one's talking about AI and kids using AI, and they're rolling out AI in schools, in Australian schools. But they're not banning that. They're happy for kids to use chatbots trained on the internet, but they're going to ban kids from using social media. So it's interesting that the bots are talking about this. Yeah, interesting. I mean, it's ultimately like it's garbage. It's garbage content, right? Like, I am still of the mind where I can't value anything put out by an AI. Like, you just don't care, because especially if you're a Bitcoiner where you're thinking about proof of work, there is no work really that's gone into AI shitting out a short story or an image or something, and it might look okay aesthetically or whatever, but you still don't value it because no work went into it, no time went into it, unless you discount the burning down half a rainforest to power the data centers. But you just can't value it. And so I still don't like all of our governments are pinning their hopes on this industry, saving from all of their rampant government spending and our productivity, in the toilet everywhere. They are pinning their hopes on this thing. And even though this open claw stuff is pretty cool, I still don't think it's there. Like I still think we're coming up to an AI bubble. When that pops, things are going to be grim all around. So yeah, I still haven't seen the killer app. It's not there.
Yeah, I do get concerned with the skill set that is being eroded currently. Like if you are of an age where you're maybe entering the workforce, maybe you've just spent the last 3 or 4 years studying some subject at uni, you've gained a degree, and then all of a sudden, an LLM can effectively do that infinitely better than you can, and you actually don't know how to use those tools because you've been spending all your time learning this other thing. That gap is gonna cause some disruption, I think. Unless again, you have to be highly motivated and curious to use these things. But if you're of the opinion that, well, I've done this degree and so therefore I should get, I've done X, so therefore I should get Y, without proving your usefulness and your value that you're able to create for anyone, you're going to have a pretty hard time, I think, in the next few years. It is moving so quickly. I mean, the Maltbook thing happened within sort of a 48-hour period, and then we moved on to the next thing. Which is, well, we should probably bring it up. I mean, apparently Satoshi has been in contact with someone in Epstein's client list. Do you know much about that? Can you unpack that? I've heard rumors or something, and it just sounds like a giant sigh and a FUD. It's just another thing that I have to kind of, get over when I'm trying to orange pill a normie.
I hadn't seen that one. I hadn't seen Satoshi himself sort of named in the Epstein files, but I have seen there are some weird parallels to Epstein and some original Bitcoin developers that are mentioned in the Epstein files, and a bunch of VCs around that Epstein was involved with. It's pretty scary stuff, to be honest. Like it's definitely given me a lot of pause. It's like, dang, this tool, this amazingly incredible tool that I'm very thankful that we have and is going to hopefully pull us out of this financial hell that we've gotten. The fact that it's got these very, it's still a bit of, a few steps removed from Epstein, but the fact that there is connections there, it's like, dang, could have done without this. Could have definitely done without this. So yeah, I mean, the files that came out recently had a few more things about some Bitcoin related VCs in there. I didn't see anything about Satoshi. Got a lot of juicy stuff about Bill Gates. Bill Gates and his proclivities for Russian prostitutes, asking Epstein to get him some antibiotics to treat an STD that he got from a Russian prostitute without his wife knowing.
I've seen some of these emails. I've tried to kind of avoid a lot of it because, attention is a commodity. You got to spend it wisely. Energy goes where attention flows, or whatever it is. And I try not to give it too much space, too much energy. But I've seen a few snippets here and there on social media and elsewhere. And the question I've got is, how busy was this guy? AI didn't exist. He didn't have a Claude bot. He's getting all these inquiries from all these different people from such a range of topics. How across this does one man need to be?
Yeah, something you got to keep in mind with this guy is how does he have all this stuff in emails? Got to remember that this stuff was, he's been living in a BlackBerry since they came out in 2003 or something. And that was how boomers and Gen X, when tech was still coming out, we didn't have smartphones and you're texting each other there, you had email and you had a BlackBerry. And that was what Epstein lived in. He lived in this BlackBerry sending emails like this. And that's why when you actually look at the emails, they're really poor grammar, very, very limited punctuation. So yeah, it's literally how he texted. So it's like, think of it like your text messaging. But yeah, end of the day, what doesn't get spoken about is this guy was like an Israeli intelligence asset. He was a matchmaker, he was a deal maker, he was a financier, essentially between U.S. intelligence, Mossad, Israeli corporations, American corporations. He had fingers in all these different pies, and it's gross. And even though we're getting all this information, everyone named is getting away with it. The worst thing that's happened to someone is, Prince Andrew got stripped of his titles, but that's kind of it. And now he's going to live in luxury in some private royal residence for the rest of his life anyway. So it's really blackpilling. Actually, I wouldn't recommend digging into this too much, because it's all bad. It's all there. More is getting released every day, and yet there is no punishment. Despite all these names and all these people affiliated with this guy, no one is being brought to justice. It's painful. It's painful stuff.
I think that's kind of the whole point, really. I think it's like a ritual humiliation.
Yes,
of
absolutely.
the entire globe. Like it's like it's like, look at this. This happened. What are you going to do about it?
Exactly.
That's basically
exactly that.
the long and short of it. And it sucks, man. It really does. Because you would like to see, I mean, what are you going to do? What, go and have a protest? 250,000 people across the Sydney Harbour Bridge in 2003. What did that achieve? Sweet F all. Like, they still went to war. They still went to Iraq, and they just did it anyway. In fact, speaking of Iraq, apparently, the late Mr. Dick Cheney wasn't mentioned in the Epstein files. In fact, from what I've seen, and someone else will have to verify this, this is pure. This is what I've seen on social media, so take it with a grain of salt. But apparently, not many, if any, individuals in the Bush administration in the early 2000s have been included in this latest leak. They might be in one in the future. But, it kind of goes to show that they went to war, in the early 2000s, just for the love of the game, really. They were just, yes. They weren't getting pressured by anyone, blackmailed by anyone. They're just like, this is what we do, right?
Yeah, and for anyone that thinks that, the Epstein files have finally been released, it's not actually true. There's still an insane amount of redactions of exactly those kinds of people that you mentioned. So people that have been in and out of the US government over the past 20 years, their names are still redacted from the records because they're still, close enough to, the halls of power that having those names be released would be too damaging. And so what has been released recently is just kind of more flavoring, like a little bit of tidbits and stuff, just to keep people satisfied.
It's like a sacrifice.
Too much. Yeah,
they just it's like the Roman soldiers had that law of decimation. They just knock off the 10%, make that army stronger, and they're just ritual sacrifices. They're like, obviously you guys hate Bill Gates. Like, yeah, he's a filthy pedo with shitty software. Like, what are you going to do about it? Like, and they can just get rid of him, just like a condom, really.
Still using his operating system. Switch to Linux if you're
still going to use it.
Get out of there. You got to get out of there. The other thing,
but Copilot, man, so useful.
Copilot, oh gosh, enjoy having your entire life fed into the AI that'll run Skynet in the future. For anyone interested, definitely look up Epstein's involvement in the 2008 financial crisis. He was shockingly highly involved in the 2008 financial crisis. He literally ran, I think it was Morgan Stanley's mortgage-backed securities wing back in 2007, 2008. He was setting it up, which was one of the things that was over leveraged on poorly backed mortgages, which predicated the 2008 financial collapse. So it's like, this guy is nuts how much this guy was involved with. It is shocking.
He's like
Yeah.
Timberland in the mid 2000s, just constantly on every record, from JT to
We need to get back to some Bitcoin news, I think.
yeah, probably.
Probably.
Well, I mean, just continuing on I guess there was this custody concern, alleged theft, $40 million worth of Bitcoin was stolen from the US Marshals Service. And it wasn't via an external hack either. It was through insider access. Apparently some kid whose dad was running the firm that had been appointed to take care of these crypto assets, he got access to these funds and basically stole like $40 million worth of Bitcoin from the US government. And then he got salty because he was on a Reddit post or something and he was gloating about it. These people aren't very smart. They're kind of like those ones that social engineer and you get them on the call and then they start boasting about how smart and clever they are. Yeah, man, it's nothing to sneeze at. 40 million. I mean, I actually am curious to know if obviously if the US government had contracted Guardblock to secure their keys instead of whoever this other guy was, might they still have access? Under the time locks.
It's always fascinating to see like these huge corporate treasuries or government treasuries through the seized funds or anything like that. I guess it was secured by a single key, and this guy, the marshal's son, just happened across it. He was looking through his dad's laptop while he was off in the loo one day after work, and he just sees a wallet.dat file and just jumps in and here we go, steals $40 million of Bitcoin. But it's like it's multi-sig is it's a little bit to wrap your head around, but is it so hard to be like, okay, we've got this much Bitcoin, we should probably put it in a multi-sig vault, we're going to have 12 keys, you need 6 of them to spend, and we've got 12 board members, each one gets a key. People still just don't get it, and we see exactly here, we've got all this Bitcoin, let's just put it under one key and give it to Bob. He knows computers, he understands how computers work. Here you go, Bob. Here's your key.
Your taxpayer money at work.
That's it.
I was actually I just want to, with the whole redaction thing with the FC files, I just want to just go back to that real quick. Obviously there's a lot of information that's been redacted there. Is it possible, I don't have as many guns as the US government, that's true. But can you file any kind of correspondence communication with your government and just redact a whole bunch of stuff because you don't want them to see it? Is that like a fair trade? You know what I mean? When you get a FOIA request and it comes out and they just redact a bunch of information that is probably actually quite helpful for the story, and could end up effectively neutering it. Does it work both ways?
No, it doesn't. It's and more people are waking up to this every day, that we think we live in a fair society, we think we live in a democracy. We ultimately don't. The government has all the power. The government it's fully within its ability to crush you if it deems you enough of an annoyance to it. And the only reason we've seen the Epstein stuff we have is because enough people just won't drop it. Even Trump himself was like, people are still talking about Epstein. Why is people still talking about Epstein? And it's like, it's because we want justice. We're sick of this charade of the fact that we're supposed to be on equal footing with our governments and the people that are elected to rule over us. But it's being proven time and time again that we're not on equal ground. And we were hoping that this is the one thing that we could get. It's like you've got this guy who's provably evil. You should be upfront and tell us who he was dealing with and show us and deliver justice. And it's not happening. They're fighting us every step of the way, and even the stuff they do release is redacted. And it's the same thing when you do your freedom of information requests here with the Australian government. Where they know they have done wrong, they will still just redact things and be like, we're just redacting it. You can see it all the time. You just jump on Twitter and just search for people that are doing various FOIA requests here in Australia, they just get back redacted documents. The government doesn't care. They don't care about being transparent at all. It's all fake.
It's like being a dog owner, you know. You go to a dog park with your dog and it will just shit anywhere it wants. And then you just go and clean it up. like who owns who? You know what I'm saying? Who owns who here? Who's got the better deal? We should probably get back to a little bit of Bitcoin. I mean, maybe we're just in such a down mood of it. We're currently at 101,000. Like, it's bad, man. It
grim.
sucks. It's 101,000. You know, it's not great. And sorry for all the dooming. I've been sort of tinkering with the newsletter all week, and you know, at one point I had today it was 110,000. You know, it was update before sand, and then checked it in this morning. It was 103. Now it's 101. I'll check it before I send it off tomorrow. But my gosh, it's yeah, and you know, alcohol's expensive, man, and they tax it. You know, like almost 40-50%. So I can't even like drink the problems away. I mean, I should just go for a run, touch some grass.
What's your price floor prediction?
Oh, look, I'd be happy with just chilling around 70 USD, 101. I don't know. I don't have a floor. I mean, the last drawdown was like 80%, which is pretty brutal. It'll just be what it'll be, and my, you know, mine's at the bottom of the ocean, unfortunately. So, I mean, it's kind of sucks from both perspectives. But the point is, it is kind of in self custody, even though I don't have control because it's lost the keys. But you know, you can sleep soundly knowing that you've done everything you can.
So
You
it
know,
could
and
go
it's
as
just,
low.
It's just up to the whims.
It could go as low as sorry, I think someone's backing up behind me. If you can hear that, we could go as low as 28,000 if
You're charboing. You're gonna get a 20.
If 2021 repeats itself, that drawdown, we may go as low as 28,000 US.
We might mint a whole heap of, a whole heap more whole coiners. I mean, there's people out there, they're stacking via hard block, they're DCing every day, they're doing their do. And they're going to work, they're getting the job done. They're taking whatever they've got left and they're putting it into Bitcoin. They are withdrawing it into self-custody. And, you know, more sats for your dollar, it's on sale. Cool, fine, great.
I did have one final theory on why the price is shitting so much. And, you know, it's like what you said right at the top of the recording, which is there's people selling. And I think there are a lot of, you know, long-term hodlers, you know, probably there are some Satoshi era hodlers that are starting to offload some coins as well. But there are plenty of people that have been stacking over the last 10 years that kind of saw this, you know, breaking 100K is like, okay, now I'm in my selling territory. Like 100K is when I'm going to start selling some Bitcoin. They let it push a little bit higher up to that 100, whatever we got to in October, 120 something K, 122K.
126, yeah.
Yeah, and then kind of that's when, you know, we did see a lot of selling happening. And so even though there was all the institutional frothiness, retail dropped away a bit, there were a lot of old stackers selling. And that just seems to have continued. And so maybe they're just committing to selling down, and that's why we might just see a bit of a lower floor before we start making our way back up again. But again, that's why it's just like, yeah, it sucks, but long-term perspective, 4 years, 5 years, it's a waiting game. Just got to hold on.
Yeah, I mean, look, all I would say is I'm glad I don't own any Bitcoin treasury companies, because then you are down bad. Like, you are down proper bad. You know, 43% drawdown is it's tolerable in this game, you know. And what else are we going to do? To be honest with you, like, what else are you going to do to try and get like some kind of prosperity and hope for yourself and your family? Like, what things are so dire and screwed up that we've all collectively, or at least all the Bitcoiners that I know, have just decided that this anonymous dude on the internet that created this or discovered that a way to issue a peer-to-peer electronic cash in a decentralized fashion. That's a better idea than what's going on anywhere else. Shout out to Eric Kasem for that original rant, but that is the move. Like, that's how shitty everything is that all we want to do is just live an honorable life. We're not asking for much. I don't want a yacht. I don't need a Lambo. I don't need any of that shit. I just want to not be stolen from when I have to go and work for money that another man can print. That's it. It's not hard. This isn't like, this is not, the game is just, yeah. Anyway. This is why we're here. And so if you want to learn more about Bitcoin, you just got to go to learn.hardblock.com.au, where we've got like 21 intro lessons to get your feet under the desk and start grokking this thing. You can dive deeper into some book recommendations that we've got as well. And obviously we have our Easy Bitcoin books as well. We actually have an Instagram account. Shout out to Elle, the Freedom Fairy, who's been maintaining and looking after that for us. She's doing a great job, posting some nice, simple, easy to understand Bitcoin content. And, I'm kind of waiting on the day when Instagram deems that somehow offensive to someone. But until then, we're going to try and reach out of our echo chamber and try and, extend a hand to those curious enough to want to learn this thing. And if that's their first touch point, then that's great. So yeah, shout out to Elle. If you're on Instagram, give us a follow. I think it's Hardblock Exchange is the handle. Look, we're just trying to live a slightly, we're just going to try and live an honorable life, and unfortunately we were born at the wrong time to attend Monterey Pop Festival and take LSD while listening to the Grateful Dead. Like, we just missed out on that. But, we got to live through the VMAs, in the early 2000s with Fred Durst and Christina Aguilera. That was cool. Linkin Park, Deftones, Slipknot, that whole thing, that happened. Unfortunately for the Gen Zers out there, like, there's nothing decent culturally that's happened in the last 20 years. I'm sorry. But, we would like to bring that back. That's kind of what I'd like to do. It's just bring back the vibes. The cultural vibes where everything was a little bit more, just a little bit more joyful and soulful, and we weren't so black-pilled all the time.
I agree. We need to bring back the good times. But to do that, we're going to have to finish going through our hard times first.
Yeah, these weak men have created very hard times. But that's our job. All right, dude. Well, very little going on in the Bitcoin space over this last fortnight, but appreciate everybody tuning in, listening to the Australian Bitcoin podcast. Appreciate you tuning in from wherever the heck you are, Mike. It looks like, I can't see too much outside your passenger driver's side door, but it looks good. It looks good. Oh, nice. Yeah.
Undisclosed location.
Until next week. Undisclosed.
Very good.
Yeah. All right.